When the shooting is complete on the film, do you just turn the character off?
Post-traumatic stress disorder, the dark side of acting. PTSD is when an actor is unable to shake off the qualities of the characters they portray. Hollywood's greatest roles don't come easy. Actors must abandon the person they are to become the character they play. Often, they're never able to fully return to their true self. A piece of every character stays with them. Cillian Murphy opens up about this.
So you go from working all of that time on set, being completely focused on something, and then all of a sudden it's done. And you're not really the character, but you're not really a civilian, and you're in this sort of, I don't know, in between liminal space, and you're kind of at a loss, really. And it's a shock.
He's not alone. Jack Nicholson famously warned Heath Ledger about the Joker role, given the intensity to which it consumes the actor. Bill Skarsgård also had recurring dreams of Pennywise after his iconic role in It. The University of Sydney first coined the term in 2006. They performed extensive psychological analysis and uncovered that the human brain many times cannot process the shape-shifting of behavioral and emotional qualities actors routinely undergo. As such, the brain will usually lag behind and keep actors constrained to their dramatic qualities for a prolonged period of time. The physical effects of PTSD are endless, from Shelley Duvall losing bits of her hair due to the stress of her role in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining, to Joaquin Phoenix admittedly going insane from the weight loss he endured in 2019's The Joker. The physical demands of iconic roles place a weight on actors that many times can't be fully lifted. And that's not even getting to Christian Bale's insane 100-pound weight loss for The Machinist, or Nicolas Cage shaving his teeth down for his role as Dracula. Al Pacino and Jonah Hill both famously shared similar struggles portraying addicts in two movies made 30 years apart from one another. Fake cocaine. That's right, Al Pacino in his iconic role as Scarface snorted enough milk powder to fill the city of Miami. The consequences? His nose has been permanently damaged ever since. Jonah Hill, hoping to not go down the same road, took to snorting vitamin D powder instead for his role as Donnie in Wolf of Wall Street. The result, though, was a visit to the hospital for lung damage and bronchitis. Cillian provides a more focused view of the issue as he expresses how beyond just the physical demands, the psychological impact inflicts the hardest blow. Even after losing 28 pounds for his role as Oppenheimer, and, as Emily Blunt put it, basically eating an almond for dinner during shooting, taking off the mask as Oppenheimer to be the true Cillian underneath was the most difficult task. The psychological damage of PTSD can be linked in an eerily similar way to PTSD. In a nutshell, PTSD stems from either intense emotional, psychological, or physical trauma. It causes people to remain almost stuck in time, lingering with ongoing flashbacks, reliving the traumatic episode repeatedly. This inability to process and move on from the past distorts an individual's conception of who they truly are. The rumors surrounding the tragic death of Heath Ledger show actors go through the same thing. Heath's magnum opus performance as the Joker achieved critical acclaim, a Golden Globe, and an Oscar. On the flip side, the depths to which playing the character brought him proved too deep to fully climb out of. We can see in post-performance interviews how Heath still has many of the subtle tics, mannerisms, and voice modulations of the Joker.
I'd say I guess the Joker, although the Joker was actually, that was the most fun I've ever had, probably ever will have, playing a character.
Furthermore, his dedication to lock himself away in solitude for months in preparation have been the source of major speculation as to whether the stress of the role played a cause in his untimely death. As Heath put it, the Joker is a mass-murdering psychopathic clown. Imagine having to immerse yourself in that kind of character. It appears Heath's sense of self was infected by the Joker character. He's far from the only one, however. Actors like Cillian routinely experience similar pains stepping into the mold of their characters. It's ironic how Cillian plays Thomas Shelby, a character who is struggling with his own PTSD from World War I. Throughout Peaky Blinders, we see a constant internal battle Thomas and his brothers endure, trying to shut the door on the past.
The war is done! Shut the door on it!
The characters remain attached to their past identities as soldiers, leaving their true present self in the dark. Similarly, Cillian couldn't shut the door on playing Thomas. For his role in Peaky Blinders, Cillian isolated himself from his family since the character was too intense to keep around the house. To play a cold-blooded gangster meant to transform into one, so much so that his own family life was negatively affected by the work. The mind of a war-torn, ruthless killer isn't who his wife and kids expected to have at the dinner table. Daniel Day-Lewis, known for his extreme method acting, would recurringly retire from acting altogether after major roles. The job would leave him so depleted that to restore his sanity and identity, he'd have no choice but to take a few years away from acting to get back to normal. He'd enter so deep into the cave of the character's mind that he'd need to step into the light away from acting just to find his way out. Beyond just personal lives, actors like Cillian take aspects of their former characters into future roles. The similarities between Thomas Shelby and Robert Oppenheimer aren't hard to spot. We can see the same demeanor of seriousness and command Cillian exudes in these scenes here. When one's notion of emotion is painted by the trails of a past iconic role, it's hard not to bring along that brush for a new portrait. What does the industry do to aid actors dealing with this issue? Very little. Discussions around post-traumatic stress disorder are rare at best and only seen alluded to in small tidbits of interviews by actors themselves. Hollywood institutions, while taking steps to provide mental health support for its members, lack any significant efforts to specifically combat PTSD. A lack of general awareness regarding the seriousness of this issue has led it to be swept into a general pool of actors' mental health jargon rather than addressed with the specificity and rigor it needs. Innovation in PTSD counseling and treatment is frequent, and if the same amount of attention is given to PTSD, perhaps the same progress can be made. Given how widespread this phenomenon is within the industry, why is so little being done? Well, it's because Hollywood is a logistical nightmare. Producers and executives will do anything it takes to cut costs and meet deadlines. This leads to the notorious 14-hour shooting days and stress overload on actors. Movies are almost never shot in scene in order to save money and time, forcing actors to unnaturally shapeshift between emotions at a moment's notice. For example, an actor might have to cry in one scene and then immediately shoot their next scene, joyfully smiling, if the two scenes happen to be in the same location. This kind of manic emotional undertaking doesn't bode well in the case of PTSD. Acting has a paradoxical relationship with mental well-being. To be an artist making a living through artistic expression may just be the ultimate source of happiness and well-being for the great actors like Cillian Murphy. However, the demands that great art requires out of the artist pushes them to the limits of their sanity. As iconic director David Lynch notes, suffering can grow the connection between the creation and the creator. This is why Cillian chose to lose all that weight to play Oppenheimer, or why Heath locked himself away for 6 weeks to become a diabolical, insane clown. The greater the struggle endured, the more fulfilling the resulting creation becomes. Understanding this perspective of an actor shows us that PTSD may be an inevitable byproduct of a truly great actor's will and determination to push the boundaries of the human psyche. We're always going to see great actors such as Daniel Day-Lewis and Christian Bale go above and beyond to meet a standard of excellence they set on themselves. But who can blame them? Because that's what we as an audience respond to. We immortalize the Joker, even if it came at Heath's expense. We dress up and cut our hair like Thomas Shelby, even if Cillian had to give up his family life for it. It's the roles where actors unfortunately end up with PTSD that we've come to revere the most. Acting is paradoxical with well-being, as I stated, and while greatness can't be compromised for Hollywood's best, maybe what can are actionable steps to smoothly bring actors down from the great heights to ground level. The University of Sydney and Performing Arts Medicine Association have already outlined protocols to wean actors off their roles. Hopefully, given the ongoing revolutions in Hollywood post-writers and actors strikes, we can see more attention and action taken on the matter of PTSD.